You know, when you think of Leonardo da Vinci, you probably picture the artist, the inventor, right? The Mona Lisa, maybe a flying machine. But for centuries, the real story of his genius, a story of fear, obsession, and secrets, was literally locked away, completely hidden from the world.
I want you to just picture this scene for a second. It's the early 1500s. A man is in a room with a centenarian who has just died. And then, by candlelight, he starts to cut the body open, mapping out the deepest secrets of human life, but he's writing it all down in a code that only he can possibly read.
That man, of course, was Leonardo da Vinci, and his entire life's work was a secret he was absolutely terrified of anyone discovering. So, the question is, what on earth was he hiding from?
Well, to find the answer, we have to start with the source of the mystery itself, his secret, private notebooks.
Get this, he left behind over 7,000 pages of notes. But here's the catch. He wrote every single word backward in a special mirror script. You literally need a mirror to read them. This wasn't a diary, no. This was a vault. And the stuff he was hiding inside? It's just wild. We're talking about detailed drawings of human anatomy that were centuries ahead of their time, blueprints for helicopters and tanks. He even had early concepts for robots. This was knowledge that just flat out shouldn't have existed in the 15th century.
So why all the secrecy? Why the mirror writing? Because in his day, the Catholic Church had absolute power, and to question its teachings on science, or on the human body, that wasn't just heresy. That was a death sentence. Leonardo knew, without a doubt, that his discoveries could get him killed.
Now, to understand why he dared to challenge everything, we've got to go back, all the way back to his childhood, where his greatest curse actually became his greatest superpower.
Leonardo was born a total outcast. He was the illegitimate son of a peasant. People called him a devil's child, partly because he was left-handed, which back then was seen as genuinely sinister. He was denied a formal education, even abandoned by his parents. Society basically shut the door on him.
But here's the thing. That complete isolation, it forced him to learn in a totally different way. Since he couldn't read about the world in books, he learned to read the world itself through his own meticulous, direct observation. Nature became his one and only textbook.
And get this, at just 12 years old, by just looking at trees, he figured out a fundamental principle of physics. We call it Leonardo's rule today, and it's a core concept in network theory, the very same idea that helps distribute data across the internet. It's incredible.
But this gentle, observant kid had a much darker side, and it was unleashed by a single traumatic event that would change him forever.
Leonardo was a man of just shocking contradictions. On one hand, he was a famous animal lover. He would buy birds in cages just so he could set them free. But then, after being publicly humiliated by a false accusation of sodomy, he became obsessed with gaining power. And he decided to get it by becoming a ruthless military engineer for the most brutal warlords of his time.
And his notebooks just filled up with these designs for terrifying weapons. A chariot with spinning blades that he wrote would slice men's legs like a sickle. A 33-barreled organ, basically a machine gun 300 years too early, because as he put it, speed kills. And of course, an armored tank designed to bring automated, inescapable death to the battlefield.
But here is where the story takes this really fascinating twist. On his most famous design, that armored tank, modern engineers have found a critical, fatal flaw. He drew the gears backward. The machine would have been impossible to move.
So what's going on here? Was it just a simple mistake from the guy who decoded the laws of nature? Or was it intentional? A quiet act of sabotage from a man who knew deep down he was creating monsters? His notebooks give us no clue.
After that dark turn as a weapons designer, Leonardo eventually returned to his first love, just the pure pursuit of knowledge. And this time, he focused on what he saw as the ultimate machine, the human body.
You have to understand, for nearly 1,500 years, all of European medicine was based on the work of just one guy, Galen. And he based his theories on dissecting animals, not people. His flawed ideas were treated as gospel. Leonardo was the first person to systematically challenge all of it by actually dissecting human corpses to see how we really were.
And his discoveries were absolutely revolutionary. He was the first to realize the S-curve of the spine acts as a perfect shock absorber. He identified the hardening of arteries as the real cause of death in old age. He proved the heart wasn't some spiritual furnace, but a mechanical pump. He even theorized that blood flows through the heart in a perfect, efficient vortex.
And that last point, his theory on vortex blood flow, this is what's truly mind-blowing. For centuries, modern science, with all its technology, just dismissed it, said he was wrong. It took us 500 years to invent the tools that could finally prove he was right all along.
So, given all of this, you think he died knowing he was one of the most brilliant human beings to ever live, right? Well, that's the final tragic paradox of Leonardo da Vinci. Throughout his secret journals, you find these just heartbreaking notes to himself. "Tell me if I ever did a single thing of value," he writes. He was constantly tearing himself down for wasting time and for failing to finish his work. He was haunted by this profound sense of failure.
And from his point of view, you can almost see why. So many of his great paintings were left unfinished. His terrifying war machines were never actually built. His flying machines never flew. And his crowning achievement, a complete encyclopedia of human anatomy, was abandoned before it was ever published. All he saw was a long list of things he never completed.
He literally saw centuries into the future. He mapped the blueprint of human life itself. He dreamed up machines that would completely redefine our world. So we're left with this one last incredible question. How could the world's greatest genius die believing that it had all been for nothing?